to Career Uprising. I'm your host and professional career coach, Lorraine Rise. Join me as I guide you through an amazing journey of self-discovery and empowerment. If you are looking for work, changing careers, or stuck in a toxic job, then this is the show for you. I offer both practical and spiritual guidance to help you up-level and advance your career. Let's start the uprising. Hey there, my friends. You are listening to episode 17, Stop Networking and Start Connecting. We meet again. How are you guys doing today? Another Monday. Personally, I'm happy that it's Monday. I love this day. It's my show day. I love the show and I love my job and what I do. So thank you so much for sharing a piece of that with me today, wherever you might be listening to. I'm so glad. And I'm so excited too, because I've really become aware that the show is getting more and more listeners with each episode, which I so appreciate, and even listeners in every time zone and even across the globe. I know I have at least one listener in the UK, which is really, really cool. And who knows who else is out there that I don't know of yet. But yes, my listeners are the best. They really are. I know this much is true. So thank you for being one of them. Oh my goodness. Can you guys believe that July is over tomorrow? I cannot. I feel like 2018 is just going to be gone before we know it. I can feel it already. And we're up to episode 17 of this little show, which is beautiful. I'm sure one day I'll be on, hopefully one day I'll be on episode 117 and I'll be looking back at this and kind of maybe laughing at myself a little bit for celebrating episode 17. But I mean, look at our founder here at Inflow Radio, Summer McStravick. Oh my gosh, her podcast is approaching, I think, 600 episodes, something like that. I can't even really wrap my mind around that number right now. Gives me something to aspire to, though. So what are we talking about today? Our topic is one that I think brings a lot of, quote, pain to a lot of people, and it's networking. And for many, I think that networking for their career and their job search really has become synonymous with just kind of handing out business cards and, hoping that someone will give you a job, right? And it's okay if that's been your definition of it in the past. It is a very powerless way, unfortunately, to approach a job search, and a very common one. But it's one I used to have as well. Absolutely. It truly, truly took me becoming a business owner to get it, to really get how people help each other accomplish nearly anything in life, whether it's looking for a job, starting a business, or just anything that you want to do. You're going to need probably other people to help you get there. So in today's episode, then, what I want to do is put the power back in your hands, as I always want to do, and help reveal to you what it means to make true connections. And I know that this will make all the difference in your career. So if you've ever been told to network, but you don't know what that means, this show is for you. Or perhaps maybe if you've ever been told to go out and network and you thought, yeah, okay, whatever, I don't want to do that. I don't know what that means. Then this show is also for you today. So, and you might be wondering why I'm telling you in the title to stop networking, because that word has developed such a negative connotation. I think maybe we just need to stop using it altogether. I'm sure I'll use it a couple times in this episode because, it's just kind of easy to do. That's the word we've given it. But I think connecting is a better word for it. That's really what this is all about. It's about connecting the dots between who can help get you hired and help get you where you want to go and what you can do for them. It's reciprocal, all right? And notice that I said people, because I'm sure you know at the end of the day that people get people jobs, right? So if you don't like networking the way that it's kind of become known and what it's become known for, well, then don't do it. That's fine. I'm giving you permission to not do that and to connect instead. And there's a completely different energy and intention behind that, I think. It's amazing how you can just a slight change in how you approach a situation can really change your results. So, changing your energy, changing your intention, and your perspective will change your results. And that's what today's show is going to be about. And that's what I'm going to try and give you a picture of today is what connecting might look like versus what networking as you know it would look like. All right. So on today's agenda, then, speaking of that topic, is to outline what your goals would be in having networking conversations and connecting with other people. There's 5 goals in total that I'm going to share with you today, and I will walk you through a little bit of each one. And then we're going to talk for a minute about who you should be connecting with, because that might be a question on your mind is, well, who am I supposed to be talking to, right? I'm going to kind of list them out, some potential people that you could be connecting with, and share with you kind of the order of priority and effectiveness, because certainly there is an order to it. Not every person that you know or every connection that you have is necessarily created equal and going to be worthwhile to pursue. So I'll share all of that with you today and whatever else might pop into my brain about this topic. Most of it I've got kind of planned out, but every now and then some nuggets just randomly pop into my head and I kind of improvise a little bit as well. So it should be fun. And yeah, I'm going to try and make networking fun for you. I bet I can do it. I'm up for the challenge. So before we get too deep in today's lesson and I get too lost in thought and kind of in my flow, did you know you can call in? It's still a live broadcast, and you can talk to me. I'm very friendly. I'd love to chat with you. It only takes a couple of minutes. So if you're at work, good excuse to take a quick little coffee break and leave your desk for a minute, right? No one will notice you're gone. And you can ask me any questions that you have, certainly if it's relevant to the topic about networking, that's wonderful, but it doesn't have to be. Whatever is going on in your career, in your world, you can take just 5 minutes out of your day and give me a quick call. So yeah, don't worry about it pertaining to the topic, all right? And this is your last chance to get a free gift. I've been trying to get some folks to call in. I did give away 1 free prize earlier this month. I'd love to give away another. So I'm still running my freebie, but this is your last chance to be a live caller and get some kind of free bonus tip sheet, worksheet, ebook, something that will give you a little bit extra layer of support. So be one of my lucky winners today, all right? You can call the U.S. number 1-760-456-7277. One more time, it's 1-760-456-7277. All right. Let's dig in, guys. So, blah, 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 networking. It's so painful for a lot of people that they just avoid it, really, altogether, and don't even do it at all. And that's a shame. So, let's define this first. I think that's the most important thing. And I think that professional networking is probably easiest to define by first talking about what it's not. All right. So, for example, just telling everybody that you know that you're looking for a job isn't the most effective form of networking, nor is just approaching random strangers and asking for a job either. So if either one of those sounds painful or unpleasant to you, well, good news. Okay. You don't have to do it that way. I'm giving you permission to not do those things. So networking isn't just about asking for help, but it's about people helping each other, all right? And you can end up getting help from people without outright necessarily asking for it. It does happen that way. And if I'm confusing you, just stick with me through the whole program, all right? We're going to go really in depth into this topic. But the most successful job seekers view networking really as an opportunity to connect with others, to share information and resources. All right, I'll say that again. The most successful job seekers view networking as an opportunity to connect with others, to share useful information and resources. All right, and they don't have to wait until they need a job, until they need a job to start consciously building relationships. So I'm going to say that one again too. Don't wait until you are looking for a job to start consciously building relationships. So if networking or connecting, whatever you prefer to call it, is going to work for you in your career, you're going to have to adopt it as a way of life. All right. Not a one-time thing. And I think this is a really important distinction to make because you connect and talk to people and meet new people all the time. All right. But I want you to be more conscious of it and more aware and have more intention and follow through. Right. That's what I want you to do. But have you ever kind of noticed that some people just like, it's not that they're popular, but they just know a lot of people, right? There's those people out there that just always are connected. They always know other people. And they have like a zillion Facebook friends or LinkedIn connections or whatever. They're always connecting with people. Oh, so-and-so just knows everybody. They always have tons of friends and activity going on. Do you ever wonder how they do that? Or do you ever know somebody like that in your life? What's happening is it's their way of life. It's part of who they are. And it may not have been innately part of who they are, but it's how they choose to be. It's how they choose to show up in the world. They choose to show up as somebody who actively and intentionally builds relationships, whether they, quote, need the relationship right now or not. They're always looking to meet new people. And they follow through. They connect with that person on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever you want so that they can continue to stay in touch. They don't just meet them one time. They're like, yeah, they're genuine. Let's do this. Let's stay in touch and see what's going on with each other down the road. It's just their way of life. That's the best way to approach this. Now, I will say that doesn't mean that you have to be an extrovert. Because that's a big thing that people have. Well, I'm not very extroverted. I'm not very social. It's just easy for some people. You can connect with people in your own quiet way. I promise. It's not going to look exactly the same for everybody. You don't have to be a fabulous public speaker or a real go-getter or super extroverted. But however you want to do it, you do need to be making connections and nurturing those relationships with people over time. You can do it in an introverted way. That's fine. Maybe I can do a future show on that. Kind of how to network as an introvert. But I want you to know that doesn't need to stop you. And it doesn't need to look the same as it might for somebody who is naturally more extroverted than you. All right. The outcome is the same. Maybe the way you do it's a little bit differently, and that's okay. All right. But it's not about just asking for assistance or collecting the names maybe of other people who can help you, although that can happen as a result. And that's great. We do want to end up getting some assistance and potentially collecting the names of other people who we should know who can help us. You don't have to make that your straight up number one priority, but it's a byproduct of this process and it's going to happen. Ideally, this is about building relationships and simply just expanding your reach and your impact, right? So here's one way that you can think of it. And I like this. It's kind of a little flip on the old definition of networking. A lot of people, if you ask them, what does networking mean? What's the definition of it? A lot of people might say, well, it's about how many people that you know. Well, sort of, but that's not all of it. It's also about how many people know you. What's the difference, right? What's the difference between just knowing a lot of people or a lot of people knowing you and what you do, what your value is? Therefore, you're going to be first of mind when an opportunity comes up. How about that? Because if you're networking or connecting with someone just to get a job, it's really going to be about them knowing you. They're going to need to know you in order to want to or be able to help you. They have to know you well enough to A, want to help you, and B, be willing to refer you or pass on your resume or introduce you to someone. And trust me, this isn't as hard as you think. All right. So stick with me. I've got a couple tips and a couple strategies for you. So in fact, I have 3. So let's go ahead and get into those. So that might help you to implement some of this a little bit. All right. So here's 3 tips that can help you to kind of get started with this and be a little bit more of a natural connector and someone who really just kind of effortlessly builds relationships and draws other people into them and into their energy. All of this will help you in the long run with your career and your job search efforts. Okay. All right. So number 1, I want you first, before you start reaching out to anybody else, I want you first to identify what value you add to a potential relationship or an existing one. If you want to improve the relationships that you already have, which I would recommend, employers and other people in general gravitate towards people who offer ideas and expertise and who are interesting and creative. So knowing what you offer and what you could potentially help other people with, what problems you solve in the workplace, this is always the first step to not just getting a job, because we want more than that, right? But to growing your career for the long term. That's what I really want to help you do. So know the answer to questions such as, why are you an asset? What do you have to offer? What problems do you solve in the workplace? Because every employer has problems, all right? Whether they're understaffed, and the problem is they can't get the right talent, okay? Or the problem is they're not as competitive in the marketplace and the competition is swamping them, so they need a better marketing strategy. Or they just need more sales. Or maybe their processes are really inefficient and they're losing time and money because maybe their processes are outdated. Any of these are potential problems that an employee can solve and add value in the position that they have. So think about your line of work. What are the employers or the problems that your potential employers may have, and how do you solve them? Okay. But also don't just think about employers, think about individual people. When you meet new people, whether in person or online, you want to be generous with your own resources and your knowledge and your skills. So be prepared to create a 2-way networking relationship. And this is going to make a big difference. And it's just going to enrich your life. It is just to have wonderful people and friends, colleagues, whatever they are. Conversations and just that communication and connection with other people is so enriching and so powerful in your life. There's so many other benefits to it. All right. But it absolutely will bring benefits to you for landing that next opportunity. All right. So kind of my point here is that effective networking or connecting is not a short-term activity, but it's a way of life. It must be a part of who you are and how you carry yourself in the world. Be someone who connects and engages and forms relationships in your own way, of course. You don't have to do it exactly like I do it. I'm pretty naturally outgoing and extroverted. Shocker, right? You might not be. That is okay. But you still need to be making these efforts. So number 2, so that was tip number 1, identify what value you can offer to other people, an employer and just individual people. And number 2, this is the hardest part, I think, for a lot of people. Don't just focus on getting a job. Solely focusing on that puts pressure on this person that you want to build a relationship with. All right. And what I want you to focus on is just gathering information that can help improve your approach and increase your visibility out there in the job market. All right. You can just get great advice from these people. They might be able to advise you on companies that you should target, companies you should stay away from, or maybe a different job title that you should be targeting. Now, when you're in a pinch and you need work fast, I know this is hard for people, okay? It's hard to focus on anything other than I need a job. I need a job. And I understand that. Believe me. Oh, I have been in your position. I get it. But trust me when I say that this is a more effective approach to actually helping you get a job. I know it seems counterintuitive. Don't focus on just getting a job and that will help you get a job. I get it. I know it doesn't sound like it's what you need, but it is. If you're in a hurry in your job search, focus your efforts on people who already know you, the relationships you've already built. So these are the ones that will most likely produce results for you in the short term. So when you do, though, branch out and make new connections, sometimes those connections can work quickly. Sometimes it does happen that somebody you barely know or just connect with on LinkedIn can turn out to be really useful and helpful. I don't want you to think that it won't ever happen, but most often your next job lead is going to come from within your own network. All right. So this kind of brings us to the last tip, number 3. Networking / connecting is best viewed as part of your long-term career strategy. All right. So that means that the best connections, are the ones that you made already a while ago. So start today and you'll be glad tomorrow. But that doesn't mean there's no hope if you feel like you don't have a lot of good connections right now. Just get started today, all right? But everybody knows people. You do have people in your life right now who would be willing to help you and might be in a position to help you. But they have to know you're looking too and what you're looking for. Otherwise, they can't really help you. So I do advocate that people let their immediate network, friends, family, neighbors know when they're job searching. People that you trust, of course. I'm not saying you have to go put seeking new opportunities on your headline on LinkedIn. I don't recommend you do that. So it doesn't mean that you have to do that. But it does mean that you're going to share with those who you already know, hey, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for work. I'd love to be in a role like this. That would be a really great match. If you have any advice, any ideas, leads, I would so appreciate it. And please let me know what I can do to help you as well. You will not put people off by that. Okay? If they can help you, they will. If they won't, they won't. It's okay. So let me move into this. I promised you at the beginning of the show that we talk about goals in networking conversations and connecting with other people. What are the objectives that you're trying to get out of your networking efforts? There's 5 things. All right. So number 1 of your objectives is to solicit advice on a career path, particularly if you're changing fields or industries. I know I've mentioned this in other shows, but finding a mentor or at least somebody that you can kind of do an informational interview with is really, really helpful. All right. Because that person's doing the work you want to be doing. They can really advise you. And people love to give advice. They do. It's free advice, right? Who doesn't love to give that? and who doesn't already give that on a daily basis? They'll probably feel flattered. All right. And that's one more new friend that you've made, one more connection maybe in your back pocket. But look for people that you can solicit some advice from. You don't have to ask them, can you give me a job? You can just say, oh, I see that you're working for XYZ company. I'm really, really fascinated by them. They're kind of on my radar. Do you have 10 minutes? I'd love to kind of pick your brain and find out what you love about working there. Something like that. Not too scary, right? Number 2, objective. To discover the names of other people who may be able to help you. All right. So yes, we do want to eventually be connected to other people who can help us if that person can't. But there is a very casual way that you can do this. It might sound like this. Is there anyone else that you can think of that you'd recommend I speak to while I'm in the process of making this career change or my job search? Didn't come right out and say, hey, can you introduce me to your boss? We didn't say that, but it's still effective, right? Who else do you recommend that I potentially speak to? Nothing wrong with that. If they don't have anybody, they don't have anybody. But do your due diligence and ask, okay? Your third objective in networking conversations: to uncover job listings that may not be advertised. We call this the hidden job market, and it's so real. I've gotten a job from, quote, the hidden job market. It happens. Now, you don't have to be overly direct here. It's okay to state that you are actively looking and would very much appreciate them letting you know if there's any openings they hear of, whether it's at their company or elsewhere. Oh, and by the way, what else can I do to help you? Right? There's always that on the end of it, is what you can also do for them. Number 4, your objective is to gain insights about either a company or a position that you're interested in before you submit your application. So this is most useful when there is a specific job that you might be interested in, and maybe that person works at that company. They may be able to tell you, oh, you should, emphasize these certain skills, or take that information off your resume, anything like that. And I've definitely seen this work. I may have shared this example in a past episode. I'm not sure, but let me give you a quick example from a client that I coached. So I had a gentleman that I coached about a year ago in my career transformation program, and he knew somebody. He had kind of a friend or a former coworker who worked at the company that he wanted to go to, and he was applying to be a business development manager there. And so having this contact on the inside, he asked him, hey, take a look at my resume. Is there anything missing? You work there, you know best. And his friend did come back and told him they are huge on customer service, even at that high level. This wasn't like a retail position. This was a manager position. But this company was huge on that. And so we kind of reworked his resume a little bit and added a little bit more of his real commitment, to being a customer champion, because he had that. So that worked for him. And by the way, he got that job too. So I'm just sharing that as an example of how, when you do have that connection, you need to leverage it. They can give you information that can be really, really helpful for you to kind of refine your approach a little bit. So he got that awesome job, and you can actually read his testimonial on my website. So this advice does work, I promise you. Okay, so we still have one more. So number 5, your 5th objective in connecting and networking conversations is simply just to expand your network over the long term. All right, so this is what I've mentioned before. The relationships that are going to be proving useful for you are the ones you already built. So start today and consider this a part of your long-term job search strategy, okay? The best time to start was yesterday, right? This really is going to work for you. It can work in the short term, but it's going to work over the long term. So I want you to adopt this new mindset and adopt this as a way of life, that you just value communication and relationships with other people. And you like to nurture them ongoing and know what's going on with people's lives and share. This is what people do. So notice that not one of those objectives that I gave you was to outright just ask for a job. Okay. And inevitably, it will lead to that. If you're going to uncover useful information that will lead to job prospects and introductions and hiring managers and so on, you're going to uncover all of that. So don't feel like you're wasting your time if you don't get right to the point and just ask for a job. You're not wasting your time. It's kind of the sum of all of these cumulative efforts that's going to pay off. All 5 of these objectives will support you in finding a job. They will, but they're going to do so much more just for your long-term career growth and impact. It's going to be excellent. All right. But there is an overall way of life here that I want to encourage you to embrace going forward. All right. So we're about halfway through or a little bit more. So let me go ahead and take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have plenty more to talk about on this topic. I'm going to share with you the number one most preferred hiring method according to the hiring managers themselves. Wouldn't you love to know what that is and how you can get in on it? We're going to talk about that immediately when we come back. There's still time to call and get in the queue if you'd like to. So I'm just going to take a quick break and I will talk to you guys in just a second. Hey everyone. While the show takes just a quick break, I want to invite you to connect with me personally to get help in your career. If you like what you've heard so far, sign up for my mailing list so you can be a part of my community. I offer all kinds of career-related advice, and I have a free guide that I created just for you called Strategies for Interview Success, and you'll get it instantly in your inbox as soon as you sign up. Head over to worksmartcounseling.com/signup. That's worksmart, counseling.com/signup. Or go to my show page on infloradio.com and get on the list today. All right, let's get back to the show. I'd love to answer your questions. Give me a call in today's episode, recorded live, by dialing the U.S. number 1-760-456-7277. That's 1-760-456-7277, and let's see how we can improve your career. And welcome back, my friends. Thank you for sticking with me here. Good, meaty discussion, I think, that we are having today on the difference between networking, kind of the old school definition of it, just kind of passing out business cards and shaking hands and things like that make a lot of people's skin want to crawl, versus what I would rather call connecting. So being one of those people who just loves to connect with other people, loves to get to know them, to hear their story, to share their own story, and to see where that relationship can go over the long term. And this has unbelievable implications for you. And like I said, I did not at all used to believe in this when I was younger and in my 20s doing a lot of job searching. I didn't feel like I had a network. I didn't know what to do. It was just kind of this concept that I kept hearing out there. And I mostly did rely on applying on job boards with some success, but not probably as much as I could have. So it really took me starting a business and realizing, I don't have like a job board that I could go get clients from as a business owner. It doesn't work like that, right? I have to rely on relationships now, referrals, and I'm in networking business groups, and I do it online as well. I put myself out there and send connection requests to people and try to build new relationships and get that exposure so that I can grow my business. And it's been phenomenal. I'm very pleased with the number of client referrals and repeat business and things like that I've gotten over the last couple of years. And it's all because of people, right? That's what it's become. So it's really taken me to make this career change and start a business to realize, oh, yes, actually this does work. It does make sense. And so it absolutely applies to you as well if you're looking for work or changing into a new field, as it does for me, looking to find clients and grow a business. So So one of the reasons too why I put so much emphasis on this, on leveraging people, is in hopes of obtaining a referral. So I promised you I'd share with you the number one most preferred method that hiring managers like to use, and that is referrals. I don't know if you're listening, if you've ever done hiring in your career. I've done a lot. I've been a hiring manager, and you love that coveted referral that comes from somebody either that you know or even better within the company. That is really what they prefer. If you ask nearly any hiring manager, they will tell you the number one preferred hire is the one that's referred from a current or maybe even former employee. So much that they often pay bonuses, sometimes of thousands of dollars, to employees to bring them new talent. And why? So let's talk about why would they do that? Why do employers so prefer referrals? Well, one, they're more cost effective. They really are, because it costs money to be out there on job boards, all right? And it costs money to launch a marketing campaign to position yourself as the employer of choice and go to career fairs or whatever it might be. It costs money. And it's also just kind of it's there's just a high level of trust there, I would say. So it's cost effective, but there's so low cost and then high trust, right? And high success rate, because this person already within the company that you already know and trust, okay, a relationship, is now putting their name on the line to bring in somebody else. So it makes complete sense from an employer's perspective that this is who they want. So what matters now is what are you going to do with this information, right? So if we know that this is the number one preferred hiring method, wouldn't it then make sense for you to make this your number one strategy in getting hired, to get referred? Because that's what hiring managers are doing. That's what they're looking for. And so that's what you need to be doing. You need to meet them where they are at. So you may want to, if you haven't done so yet, try to take a look at where all of your connections work. LinkedIn actually makes this really, really easy. There's a feature on there called Companies in Your Network. Oh, how convenient. Where it lists all the companies where the people you are connected to work. And because it knows that getting a referral is effective. So it's trying to kind of help you to do that a little bit. But here's another real example. So I've shared with you my husband's story in the past. So he's a software developer, and his company recently opened up a new position to backfill for another senior level developer, kind of like him. And so they were, and the cool thing was my husband got to be kind of on the hiring team, like screening some of the resumes and helping to make the decision, which was a kind of a new experience for him. So we shared a lot of stories back and forth. It was kind of cool to see him get to do that. It's so different when you're on the hiring side if you've never done that. But they received a number of resumes, and I think they interviewed a total of 4 people, one of which was a referral from another one of the developers. Who do you think got hired, guys? It was the referral. Now, of course, you still, have to be qualified. All right. They're not just going to hire any old Joe Schmo just because they were referred by somebody else. Of course, you still need to be good. They still interviewed this person. He still had to take the technical test. But I think it's interesting that they did end up hiring the one person who came endorsed by another employee. Shocker, right? So, of course, it does happen that you can be hired blindly off of a job board. Don't misunderstand. It can happen. It's happened to me. It's happened to my husband. It just takes longer, but it can happen. The odds are just lower. So what I'm really cautioning you against here is relying solely on the job boards as your strategy and not adding in that extra layer of connecting with people. All right. I've always told people in coaching sessions that the best strategy is one that employs a healthy mix, maybe kind of a 50-50 combination of the two. 50 part applying online if you don't really have a connection, if that's the only avenue you can go and you don't know anyone who works there or can introduce you to somebody at that company, then yeah, go ahead and apply online, because that's going to happen. Realistically, you're not going to be able to find a quality connection at every company you want to apply to. I know this. So a little bit of that's okay, but then also a little bit of getting yourself out there, going to events, going to meetup groups to meet new people. And apply online. Reach out and make some new connections on LinkedIn or Facebook. But don't just restrict it to being online either. I want you to physically get out of your house, especially if you're unemployed. Get out of your house and go places. Just go places. Go out for coffee. Go to meetup groups. Go to workshops. Go listen to a talk. Whatever you have to do. And meet people and talk to people. And then add them on Facebook or LinkedIn, whatever you prefer, wherever you keep your people, right? Wherever you collect all of your peeps. That doesn't matter. My preferred is LinkedIn, but that's just me. This is what I want you to do in addition to applying online. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions and the biggest hangups that I hear people say about doing this is they say, well, Lorraine, I don't have a network. I don't know anyone who can give me a job. Oh, but you do, my friend. You probably do. Your network, let's define this really quick to make sure we're on the same page. Your quote network is literally everyone that you know. Literally. It's not just professional contacts. It is everyone that you know and that knows you. Because remember, it's important for them to know you. So unless you're a shut-in who never leaves your house and, just has all your meals and everything delivered to you, right? You don't actually see the sunlight, then you have a network. Good news. You have a network. You know people. How many Facebook friends do you have? 300? 500? Did you know the average person has 338 Facebook friends? It's true. I read it on the internet. Got to be true, right? Seriously, though, you do know people. You've probably just never thought about engaging them in your job search and letting them know what you're looking for and asking how you can help them. It's just a different way of utilizing the same relationships that you already have. And you know what? If nothing else, maybe they can provide a reference for you. That's a great way to leverage your network in a job search. There are employers out there, not as many, I would say, but there are some out there who still like to have those kind of old-fashioned, 3 professional references, that type of thing. Perhaps there's somebody that can help you in that way if they can't help you any other way. So get creative here, okay? But people know this, that people that know you, they do want to help you. Think about if the situation was reversed and if a good friend of yours or your next door neighbor came to you and said that they were out of work and they were looking for work and they would absolutely appreciate any guidance or connections or anything that you may have for them. Would you help them? I think most people would. When I ask that, I get yeses. You would help someone, right? So that's all it is. If you need to, flip the situation around and put yourself in the other person's shoes, and you will see that it's really not that scary. It's really not that scary. All right. So let's dig a little bit deeper into this, though, and take a look at who actually is in your network if you're still a little bit puzzled by this. Okay. So obviously, yes, professional contacts are great. Bosses, coworkers, even customers as well. And of course, we want professional contacts because your employer wants to get a realistic kind of preview of what it would be like to hire you and to work with you. And the people who know that are the people who have worked with you. So yes, you do need to go through all the people that you know and you've worked with and even put their names on a list of who are some of your top professional contacts that you've kept in touch with the most and who know you and your skill the most. Ask yourself, who are those people? Do I have their updated contact information? Have I talked to them in a while? Do I know how they're doing? Maybe I should get in touch with them. Just start a conversation with them again. This is what I want you to do. Okay? But consider also school alumni, customers, maybe vendors that you've worked with. Get really creative here. Who have you come in contact with throughout your career? So we're still kind of on professional contacts right now. Think big, guys. It's there. All right. And then there is, of course, your personal network as well. So what circles do you run in? Where do you go in a day? What people do you come in contact with? Do you have neighbors? I bet you do. Do you go to church? You might. Do you ever volunteer? Do Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, PTA, whatever, right? Do you have family? Of course you do. Do you have friends? I think you do, right? You know people. Do they all know what you do for a living and what you're looking for? Do you know where all of those people work? Because commonly you don't. There may be people that you know in a personal sense, a neighbor. This has happened to me before. A neighbor right down the street, and you know them, just by saying hi to them, and maybe your kids go to the same place for preschool, whatever, but you don't actually know where they work, right? We don't always know everyone in a professional sense. Have you ever asked them, well, what do you do for a living? Where do you work? You would be surprised what you may uncover. I've had this happen to me where I completely forgot somebody that was a neighbor of mine where they worked. And it was the same place that I think one of my clients wanted to get a job. I'm like, oh yeah, that person I know works there. Okay, so expand your thinking and realize that you do know people. And do you know where they work? Do they know what you are looking for? This is reciprocal, all right? So your first priority is going to be to reach out to family and friends and people that you know. From there, yes, you can absolutely reach out to new people through a couple of avenues. You can connect with recruiters. You'll get some responses, not a ton probably, depends on the recruiter, but they're all over LinkedIn. They're all over. Have you ever tried just doing a search for people with the job title recruiter, maybe in a certain industry or at a certain company? Try it. Hiring managers, you can try. It's a little harder to know who that is. Sometimes you often don't know their exact title or their name. And just a little bonus tip, I tend to find hiring managers oftentimes are not as responsive. They tend to kind of kick you back sometimes to HR, or just kind of route you back through the online application, maybe more so in larger companies. But you can try, all right? Send them an email or a LinkedIn message, whatever you need to do, introduce yourself. Consider also, this is a totally different approach, one that has worked twice for me. Consider working with a staffing agency. It might depend on the type of work that you do. IT uses a lot of staffing agencies sometimes. Myself being in HR, we used staffing agencies, administrative fields. This can be actually a really effective way to get into that hidden job market because agencies frequently have listings that are intentionally not found other places because that's how they get paid, by uniquely finding you and bringing you to the employer. They don't get paid if you apply on your own through another channel. I learned this one the hard way years ago. So do a search for agencies in your area. And it's not all temporary contract work. There are direct placements. But again, if you're unemployed, maybe that wouldn't be a bad thing to do a temporary assignment, right? So here's one more bonus tip as well, because we're coming up on the end. I could talk about this all day. All right. One more tip is to try and make an effort to connect before you apply for the job. All right. I think I may have mentioned this before. I'm not sure, but this can be effective because this helps you to gain insights about the job before you submit your resume. And that can have a lot of benefits, kind of like the example I just shared, of the client who found out that customer service was something really, really big and he needed to change his resume before he applied. If he'd already applied, it'd have been too late, right? So that's a big one, is try to connect with people. Take a minute or so to do that before you apply, all right? And then if you really can't, then go ahead and go apply online. But you really want to establish a rapport with whoever you can, whether it's the person that posted the job, the recruiter. Likability is important here. You're trying to expand your visibility, you're trying to expand your reach, and you want to be top of mind with the person that you are communicating with. So develop a rapport with them as much as you can, whether this is online, it's harder that way, or in person, all right? But do your due diligence and try to make it part of your strategy to be referred and to seek out job opportunities where you have a connection at that company. I bet most of you listening out there have not intentionally and strategically made that a part of your strategy. If you haven't, your job search hasn't begun. Congratulations. All right. So we're going to have to wrap this up in a minute. I hope this has been helpful for all of you. I hope I've been able to take a little bit of the pain out of some of this, all right? But the point here is that the takeaway, all right, if nothing else, is that networking is all about relationships. And I think we've made that clear. You don't have to network the old school way. Drop that word if you want. Make it about just connecting with people, getting to know them and letting them get to know you. It should not feel like you are, quote, using people. If it does, you're doing it wrong, right? All right. Relationships are a two-way street. Ask each person that you come in contact with how you can help them as well. And I think I've hit this one home pretty well too. Start with those that you already know, especially if you want to get the fastest results. Start with those who know you, like you, and trust you. From there, then, yes, of course, you can begin making new connections outside of your current network. You always want to be doing that. This is for the long term. Remember that. You're going to go out there and embrace a completely just new way of life and new philosophy. I think you're going to be surprised where it takes you. Embrace this as a process. And also avoid thinking that any one contact is going to be your silver bullet. I mean, maybe, but like I said before, it's kind of the cumulative efforts of everything that you do. All right, that's the sum of the parts here that's going to add up to being effective. And I really can't stress the importance enough of starting with the people that you already know. These are what we call your warm leads. All right, they're going to be the most willing to help you. And then make new connections from there. I believe in you. You can do it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. So what have we got coming down the pipes for the next show? I'm going to be talking next week about something not at all related to job searching. We're going to depart a little bit from that. We're going to talk about career burnout, job stress, how to manage it. And I'm so excited to share this with you. Everything, when I was writing my notes out, oh my goodness, it just flooded out. I realized how much I have to say on this. I think everybody has struggled with job stress at some point. All right. So I'm really, really excited to share next week's topic with you. So plan on calling in too next week. If you are struggling, maybe you're in a toxic job or you've got a hellish commute or whatever kind of stress you have, and you feel like it's bleeding into other areas of your life. Maybe it's affecting your health. Maybe it's affecting your family relationships. It affects so much when you are dissatisfied and stressed at your job. And I know this from myself and my own family in the past. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And so I hope you join me. But I also hope that you'll take today's lesson to heart and consider moving out into the world in a new way as someone who is a connector and consciously makes new friends and stays in touch and values relationships and adds value to those relationships. Okay? All right. So I'm getting the nod here from my producer. I'm going to have to let you guys go in just a minute, but thank you so much for listening. And I cannot wait to connect with you guys next time with my new topic about career burnout. And it was just amazing. I was doing a lot of research for this one too, and kind of coming up with a lot of statistics, and it was just It blew me away what a problem this is, all right? So that'll be coming next time, guys. I gotta turn you loose, and I'll talk to you next time. That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard today, please consider giving the show a positive review on iTunes. It would mean a lot to me, and it would help to spread the word so that others can learn about the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to connect with you again next time on Career Uprising.
This show is brought to you by inflowradio.com, the best curated talk radio network for personal development, wellness, spirituality, and conscious business.